Alrighty, what is going on, my fellow patriots? Today I'm going to give you a very brief rundown on everything you need to know about Helldivers 2 and how to play the game as effectively and efficiently as possible. The first thing that we're going to go over here is going to be your ship management. So you are going to have your overall ship here. There's no way of changing the ship as far as I know. Maybe there will be later on. Next, you have your stratagems here. You're going to have blue stratagems, which are going to be your support or your weapon category stratagems. And that's going to be in your third slot. So you're going to have your main weapon that you load out with, your secondary weapon that you load out with, and then you have a support weapon, which you're going to call in. Next, you have your orbital cannons, which are essentially kill streaks from Call of Duty, except they're the opposite of kill streaks. They're on like cooldowns and they help you kill things, except you will have to wait for the cooldowns to expire before using them again, which we'll get into a little bit later. And these are red. So any offensive or like ship strike or strike from your carrier or fighters or anything like that is going to be red. And there's different versions of it and there's different ones. Next, you're going to have your green, which is going to be your turrets or your anti-personnel, minefields, that kind of stuff. Next, you're going to have your ship modules, and these are going to be modifying the stratagems here. Okay, so as an example, so we have Eagle stratagem cooldown reduced by 50%. If you look at the stratagem here, you're going to have the hangar, so it's Eagle strafing run, Eagle airstrike, all that stuff, so it makes it 50% faster. These are called simple samples, and these are rare samples, and I forget what these are called. These are like epic samples or something, and you find these all when you are doing your map. You have here your war bonds, which you find around the map as well, or also when you exfil, you'll get a certain amount depending on the difficulty of the mission that you're doing. You have here another currency, which is used to buy your stratagems. And you have this one here, which is used to buy specific armor. You can either purchase this currency or you can find it in the map as well. So now you're probably wondering, okay, cool. So how do I get new armor? Well, you unlock armor using either the war bonds. So as we went over earlier, you have this one that has a skull in it, and you will unlock these different weapons and helmets and capes and all that kind of stuff. Now, none of this is pay to win because you actually have to play the game in order to get them. Next, you have the Superstore, which changes out every 3 days, and you can either pay for them using this tab 3, or you can just wait and play more missions and find more in the game itself. Next, to actually choose your loadout and what you're wearing, you have your weaponry tab here. You can choose your primary weapon, you can choose your secondary weapon, you can choose your grenade type, it tells you the damage, all that kind of stuff on it. You can also choose what your character is wearing, and you have 3 classifications of gear. You have light armor, medium armor, and heavy armor. Now the difference between those is, let's say this, you have an armor rating of 56, speed of 544, and stamina regen of 122. Now what stamina regen is when you are sprinting, you actually slowly lose stamina. It's going to be in the bottom here, and your health is going to be here with all the information about how much ammo you have in your gun, etc, etc. Now there are different armor ratings and speeds between light armor. So this one, for example, here has a higher armor rating but is slower than this one. You also have passive armor. So for example, markers will place on the map will generate a radar scan every 2 seconds, and the range that enemies can see you is reduced by 30%. This one has increased throwing range, and this one has you load out with more stims, and stims last for 2 more seconds. Then you have medium armor, which is inherently higher armor value and lower speed value, and they're all pretty much the same except this one here so far that I have unlocked, and this one gives you less recoil when crouching or prone, and it gives you 50% extra resistance to explosive damage, which is nice. And then you have heavy armor, which is an even higher armor rating but even slower speed. Next, you have the helmets here, and these are pretty much just cosmetic. There is no difference between them all. I don't know if there's a plan to make them unlock something else later on, but for right now there is nothing of that sort. And same thing here with capes, they are just purely cosmetic. Next, you can actually change your body type, like brawny or lean, and you can also change your voice.
Prosperity.
I fight for
Liberty.
I fight for Super Earth.
You can also have it be randomized.
Super Earth.
You also have different emotes, and you actually use that with B and you need another person to actually activate the emote, but there you go. Also, then you have boosters. So boosters are purchased with this page here and right there, for example, and you could click tab and it tells you exactly what it does. So this one, for example, as soon as you come out of the hell pod, you are fully stocked on grenades, stims, ammo, etc. And that applies for your entire party. Next, you have the career tab on how many enemies you've killed. This doesn't seem to be working. However, the overall kills does work. Next, we're going to come here to the control panel, and you're going to notice this screen first. Now, this is the Super Earth, and here you have the red section, which is the automatons, and then the yellow section here is the terminids. You have an actual section here, and you have different planets in that section. Now, you can tell how liberated they are and how many people are in each one. So, for example, here you can see there's 48,000 people in it, and there's 36% liberated. This one is 78%, this one is 81%, etc. Now, as you can see, these have very different biomes. So now this one is like Mars Hellscape, for example. It's very red, it's hot, etc. This one is frozen. It looks kind of like the moon. This one is basically like a big jungle. It's like Vietnam. And this one here is kind of like a more sci-fi pink purple kind of jungle. Now, when you're actually in it, so for example, let's go here, you can actually see people who are needing assistance. They are pinging. So these guys have SOS pings out right now, so they need help. And you can tell how many people are in each lobby by just looking here and saying, okay, this is 3 out of 4, 1 out of 4. So that means that there's a maximum of 4 people and there's 3 people in there currently. So now if you do not want to go to somebody else's party, you can actually see these ones that are kind of highlighted in the yellow here. These are new ones that you can start, new missions that you can start. Additionally, you can actually have the dark side of the planet here, and you also have the light side of the planet. So this one has daylight, this one does not have daylight. To further kind of go over that, let's just move to here, and you can actually see that your ship is actually jumping between planets here. So just as another piece of information here, you can actually see the planet. All these ships here that you see in front of you are actually belonging to other players, and those kill streaks and whatnot that they're calling in, and those red lines and all that stuff at the bottom that you see there are actually from other players who are currently fighting. Alrighty, now we finished everything up with the ship at this point. Next section that I'm gonna go over with you is everything in a mission and on a map that the game does not explain. I'm gonna do that the simplest way possible. Alright, so as soon as you go ahead and select your mission, you're going to see a few different things here. You're going to see the main objective here in orange, and you're going to see any additional objectives in blue. You're also going to see enemy zones as kind of like a little flashing red zone. Then you are going to go ahead and select your stratagems that you want to use for the mission that you're in. You go and lock them as prior, and just select kind of whatever you want, whatever feels best for you. And then I choose my boosters. You might not have boosters at first, but that's quite all right. Then just land in whatever zone. Now you're going to notice first off the bat here that there are no enemies around. I just like to check around and look. And if you click tab here, you're going to actually be able to see everything around you, and you can actually zoom in and out using the scroll wheel. You can zoom in with right trigger, and you can ping something with Q on the keyboard. If you have an enemy, you can also ping them with Q as well. You have to hold control to select the stratagem in the entire time while you select the up, down, left, right. Then next, you're going to have these little bunkers around the map, and you want to basically just throw a grenade at them. So inside these little bunkers, you're going to find medals, super credits, ammo, and different weapons in there. If you exfil or if you extract with these weapons, you do not actually permanently unlock them. Next, you don't actually have to fight every single roaming enemy. You can actually just run around them. And if you find these little houses around, you can actually generally find simple samples. As we went over before on the ship, you can actually use them to upgrade your weapons in your ship. A good little strategy here is to just use a stratagem to make sure that you get the majority of them, and then just finish them up with a machine gun. It's relatively easy that way. Next, we're going to go over to the sub-objective here, which is this little extract the escape pod data. So you're going to have a new stratagem right there. So we're just going to go ahead and click on that, and you just have to protect it from the terminids from overrunning the area. So you just sit on it. Next, you're going to notice the big red areas here are actually terminid holes. So we're going to go through and we're going to clean up the bugs first, and then we are gonna finish them off with our machine gun. So let's just wait for that orbital strike to end off here, and then we will rush in. Just gonna pick off whichever ones that you have here. Now, if you're fast enough in actually killing all of the monsters, you will actually avoid the bug breaches, which means that you'll stop extra mobs from spawning in. Just as a note, you can actually prevent them. You just have to get it right on the mark or kill them all before they can spawn in. So we're gonna go through here. We're just gonna throw the grenades in the holes, just kind of run around the mobs for a second here. And now that they're all dead, they won't be spawning in more monsters, so we'll just kite them out a second and kill them off as they come. Next, you're gonna notice these flashing yellow lights here. They are little escape pods as well, and you will find items in them, super credits, or even weapons sometimes, and generally around them you will find also common samples. Just keep that in mind. So then you have these radio towers here. We're just gonna go ahead and clean it off real fast of all the monsters, so that way we can get to the actual objective. You have to touch the terminal here. After the terminal is fully loaded, you have to move the antenna the correct way. And as you can see here, we have to move it to 12 o'clock, so I'm just moving it all the way over. As soon as that's done, you run back over to the terminal here, and then you will see that you have completed an objective, and you also have all of the little minor points of interest highlighted on your screen at that point. Alrighty, so the next thing here that we got is the Siege artillery cannon. This is essentially an extra stratagem that once you complete this little task here, an objective, you can actually unlock extra stratagems. So you're going to load 5 rounds that you found around this into the artillery cannon here. Now, if you actually run with the bullets, missiles themselves, you can actually get there faster. So you want to hold shift and just spam E. It's going to drop it and pick it back up, and you'll actually run faster because you can't sprint or move fast holding a missile, which kind of makes sense, to be honest. So once you finish with the main objective, not including any secondary or side objectives, you're going to actually see that you are ready to extract. So what you're going to do very simply is look up at the sky, see that blue light, and then you're going to run over to it and then type in the console. At that point, you're going to have waves of enemies start spawning on you or near you, at which point you're going to basically be doing like a little defense game there. So just go ahead and defend yourself as best as possible, and you are good to go. Now, once the eagle actually arrives, you can either wait a minute or you can actually run straight in. In this case, I'm just going to run straight in as there are a lot of different enemies around me. However, you don't actually need to. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, well, thanks so much for tuning in here today. That's all I got for you guys. If you have any other questions, leave them down below and I'll answer them as soon as I can. Thanks so much for watching. Peace out for now.